So for our first question, we have Ashna Shah from Bloomberg.
Wondering if there's like a timeline update on when we can expect a price tag for the vision plan for Newark.
Well, the board just approved planning money, looking at Terminal B. So it's really going to. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of planning, figuring out exactly how to move forward on the various elements of the vision plan. I wouldn't put a time frame on it right now, but it's going to take a good deal of work on the planning. And at that point, I think we'll be able to come up with a cost estimate.
Thank you.
All right, now going to the phones, we have Samantha Liebman with New York One. Samantha, are you there? All right, we'll come back to Samantha. Next up is going to be Larry Higgs with New Jersey Advanced Media. Larry?
Thanks, and happy holidays to everybody in advance. My holiday gift to you are two path questions. How and when will the Port Authority address the request for additional off-peak path service that many people brought up?
Hi, Larry. It's Clarell. Good afternoon. So, Larry, I think we are in the process of looking at it. As you know, we are full force into our Path Forward program. And as we look at it, you know, I've been with the Port Authority over 30 years, and I cannot remember such a large investment in Path. I mean, when we look at it, you're talking about $3 billion worth of an investment into the tunnel system. So that's a lot of work, and looking to balance that with ridership and being able to provide service. So this is something that we're continuing to do as we work on the system to make it more reliable, to improve service. In the meanwhile, we are looking at ways to try and increase frequency. So we are in the process of that as we are knee-deep into this $3 billion investment.
And one follow-up question about another issue that was brought up. What is the status of the Newark Airport path extension, and when will that be revisited?
Well, it's been deferred, and I assume we're going to revisit it in the next capital. It's been deferred. Next.
All right, we are going to go back to Samantha Liebman with New York One.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to know, in terms of New York City and the bus terminal, what can New Yorkers expect in terms of any rerouting, street closures, you know, for pedestrians and cars during the construction in the next year?
Well, let's start by saying this is going to be a major construction project. We're looking to launch it, broadly speaking, award the contract in the second quarter of next year. There's going to be the construction company is going to have to mobilize. So these construction disruptions will begin mid to late next year. A lot of thought has gone into the planning. Port Authority is committed to set up a community working group that we will be participating in, and we will, with the community, develop communication plans in terms of being sure that people are aware of the answer to your question, which is exactly what is going to happen when, what reroutings or closure of streets, or what will be the impact of various stages of the construction. but that really remains to be worked out in detail. Some of it was in the environmental impact statement. If you want to see the kind of planning and analysis that went into thinking through the construction impacts, a lot of the detailed analytics are laid out in the final environmental impact statement that was published in September. But the detailed timeline of what will happen when is going to be worked out in coordination with the community. And I would just repeat what was said in the meeting. The Port Authority bus terminal planning and decision making has deeply involved the community boards, elected representatives, community organization leaders really from start to finish. And we intend to carry that on throughout the construction period.
All right, next we're going to hear from Daniel Munoz from Bergen Record. Daniel?
Hey, thanks for doing this. I did have a question and then I guess a follow-up question, but the first question, I guess in light of the potential for a strike with the International Longshoremen's Association, don't reach a deal with the USMX by January 15th. I'm interested in what preparations are being made by the carriers, the terminal operators, and the Port Authority. Like, is there a rush of shipments in light of the prospect of a...
We're going to bring the director of our port department, Beth Ann Rooney, to answer that.
Well, good afternoon. We're certainly still hoping that the two sides will come together between now and January 15th when the contract expires. In the event that they're unable to do that or they don't agree to another extension, we will make plans that are very similar to what we had in place on September 30th for the last strike in terms of making space available to the longshoremen for the purposes of their freedom of speech and their right to demonstrate. We are working very closely with the terminal operators and the ocean carriers on volume. The good news is that we are in a bit of a lull in the post-Christmas season, but we do expect normally to see a bit of a spike coming in January with volume coming associated with an early Chinese New Year. So again, we remain cautiously optimistic that the two sides will come together or at least agree to another extension so that we can avoid a strike and continue to move the commerce that is so vitally important to our region.
All right.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the follow-up question, I guess, regarding the Spirit Airlines bankruptcy, what impact could we see that have on Newark Airport or JFK or LaGuardia? Thanks.
I didn't hear that question.
Spirit have any impact on our airports? Bankruptcy.
Sarah, you want to answer that?
Good afternoon, Sarah McKeon, First Deputy Director of the Aviation Department. We've been in touch with Spirit. They don't anticipate any change at this time. They have what's called entered into an agreement, a prearranged bankruptcy. What they've told us is that they intend to be out early in the year in 2025 of bankruptcy, but at the right now, as it stands, no change to their operation is planned at Newark or at LaGuardia.
All right, thank you. We're briefly going to go back to Larry Higgs, who had one follow-up question. Larry? Larry, are you there?
Okay, I'm here now. Little technical issue. The follow-up question is basically what exactly is the status of the Newark Airport extension of path, and when do you hope to return to that, obviously knowing it was deferred due to the pandemic?
Yeah, that's been deferred, Larry, and we're going to revisit that in the next capital.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next up is Peter Gill from Newsday. Peter?
Hi, good afternoon from Long Island. I just wanted to follow up about the Easy Pass charges and especially, I mean, the toll rates going up, especially significantly for those who are using toll by mail. And I wanted to ask, it looked like on the slide it said that the hope is to bring down the toll by mail rate to about 15% to match MTA levels. My first question is like, what is the current rate? And then secondly, like, why is it a good idea to have more people using Easy Pass rather than toll by mail? Is the problem of ghost plates a significant reason why this is important?
Well, it's important for multiple reasons. First, it's better for the traveler because the Easy Pass rate is less than the toll by mail rate, both previously and what will be put into place in January. From the point of view of administration, it's much more efficient in terms of the operation of the system to have people have accounts. The transponder is read. The billing becomes automatic. The violations issue get reduced dramatically. The ghost plate problem goes away fundamentally because the gantries are reading the transponder. So from the reason what we've done is, yes, to raise the TBM, but what our incentive point, and it's why we're delaying the effective date, is we want to incentivize people to use Easy Pass. It will be less expensive, and it will be better for the system, and it will reduce violations. So we're urging people not to pay the higher rate of toll by mail. It's been raised in order to have the differential between toll by mail and Easy Pass more, and our effort is going to be to plead with people. Don't pay the higher rate. Get Easy Pass, eliminate the ghost plate problem, reduce violations which put burdens on others. If everybody pays, it's better for the system. So from our point of view, the whole point is to try to get people to sign up for Easy Pass for the reasons I just laid out.
All right, next up we've got Jeff Yapolater from the Airport Voice. Jeff?
Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, Jeff. Good. Hi, Jeff.
Good. First question, how many times have you been reelected? It seems amazing.
I think this is the 8th. I mean, I started in 17, August of 17, and now this is, I think, the 8th time, I think.
That's great. Congratulations. The real question is, I thought there was going to be some talk about the Healthy Terminals Act, but I guess that's not really happening. But, when I walk around the airport, I talk to a lot of companies, service companies out there. And, the wage increase obviously has a bit of a burden to them because a lot of them pass it on to the airlines, and the airlines many times don't really willfully accept it, and it creates a little financial burden for these people. And also the HTA, there seems to be a lot of confusion there, and it's a lot of duplication. So do you plan to include some of these companies in future conversations with the HTA or about minimum wage so they all feel kind of they're part of this process?
Well, let's be clear about what is on the table in terms of Port Authority action and talk about the Healthy Terminals Act. There are two Healthy Terminals Act, one in New Jersey and one in New York. The New Jersey Healthy Terminals Act has a mandate in terms of health care and other fringe benefits that is more favorable to workers than the New York Act. So our decision on the minimum wage is not affected by, does not involve the two Healthy Terminals Act, which are legislative acts by New Jersey on the one hand and New York on the other hand. The New York governor's office has indicated that they are going to look at reevaluating the New York position, but that area, I mean, this is a little bit of legal talk, but when both states have acted on a particular issue, that essentially, from our point of view, preempts us from stepping into that issue. So the question that has been raised is, will New York will change the provisions of the New York Healthy Terminals Act? Really sits with a receptive New York governor's office. In terms of the employers at the airport, having a livable minimum wage is really, it's a good thing in and of itself, but from the Port Authority's point of view, being able to attract workers who feel they are being fairly compensated and who therefore will have longer tenures at the airports is really a major priority, because that brings with it better training, more experience, and what it does is the workers then become eyes and ears in terms of our safety and security agenda and our passenger experience agenda, because they will be better at their jobs and they will know the airport better and know how, in an emergency, to help out. They will, by virtue of their experience, be able to spot security issues or something amiss. So from the point of view of the airport, a more stable worker base is really a major priority across the airport, and we believe that the higher minimum wage will contribute substantially to that agenda.
No, and I appreciate that, and I just wanted to share that it does appear that many of the increases have to be passed along to the airlines, and the airlines, in some cases, resistant, and some delays, and it does affect some of these companies that are really wanting to do the best for their workers. There's no question about it. So if there's any way that the port can impress upon everybody to cooperate and deal with these changes, I think it would help everybody.
Well, I think we've said that, and we will continue to say it, which is that we think it's better for the airport community to have a higher minimum wage. And I might say our action is consistent with what many airports are doing. There's no question that our minimum wage is one of the highest, but many airports are moving in that direction, and particularly what we consider our peer airports, the larger airports, we're very much in step with them.
All right.
Well, thank you. And I just wanted to thank you for all your work, and happy holidays, and talk to you next year.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. And that concludes this month's press conference. Thanks, everybody, for joining.